rejection. This I know is true. Peace and contentment, no need for resentment. This I found in you. This I found in you.
Oh, hey, what's up, world? What's up, world? By now, y'all know that me and this nigga Kelly was coming, right? In a black Hummer with 2 guns on the outside. Ghetto thriller.
Cash money, I'll lift the Birdman. Higher Piper from the Rockland clan. To all the players and the hot girls, introducing the best of both worlds. So throw your hands up and represent. This is collabo with heaven sent. So from the clubs to the whips to the jeeps, it's Ghetto Killer tales of the streets. 2 heads, 2 hearts, merging into one. Both are from the dark, but now shining like the sun. Different worlds, different blocks, same guns. Nevertheless, they are both made guns. This is a true story of the street life. I walk dark tunnels with no flashlight. So much pain under the shy street light. On my knees praying with all my might. Lord, 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 if you hear me, Lord, 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 please forgive me. Sipping, sipping, sipping on this Tennessee. Joy, joy, joy is what I really need. Sometimes I dream my life is like ice. Sometimes I cry myself to sleep at night. And I can't hold this pain. Heaven, can you shelter me from the rain? Cash money, I'll lift the Birdman. Ryan Piper from the Rockland clan. To all the players and the hot girls, introducing the best of both worlds. So throw your hands up and represent. This is collabo with heaven sent. So from the clubs to the whips to the jeeps, it's Ghetto Killer tale.
Let's go get it, homie. 10 million of my ghetto soldiers, born and raised in the heart of that node. Helicopters and neighborhood explosions. Slanging cola was the way of high road. Landmines under every neighborhood. Platinum status like an OG should. The police sweating the D-boy hood. But real niggas get money like they should. Ghetto call, ghetto star, ghetto ring, homie. Keep that bling on. And we've been torn by the same thing. Lost our moms and get charged for every fucking thing. It's ghetto history being made. Blowing smoke, got a Maybach Mercedes. Rest in peace to the dead. The worldwide hustlers and my homies that the street raid.
Cash money, I'll lift the Birdman. Higher Piper from the Rockland clan. To all the players and the hot girls, introducing the best of both worlds.
So throw your hands up and represent. This is collabo with heaven sent.
So from the clubs to the whips to the jeeps, it's Ghetto Killer tales of the streets.
Hold up, wait, let's go this way. Nah, you take the money, I take the album and dump it in the lake. Alright, homie, be careful, you know we hot from state to state. I know that's why we gon' stay low from state to state. Yeah, but what about the rest of the album, bro? What we gon' do? Get money, spray this music like we up it on the flute. I got fresh on post, just waiting on the go. It's the best of both worlds, Cal, from the suburbs to the ghettos. Hip hop at its best, and we on top of shit. I tell you what, let's split up and meet back at the spot. Let me get one.
Cash money, I'll lift the Birdman. Higher Piper from the Rockland clan. To all the players and the hot girls, introducing the best of both worlds.
So throw your hands up and represent. This is collabo with heaven sent.
So from the clubs to the whips to the jeeps, it's Ghetto Killer tales of the streets.
for us to move forward, we must first take a step back.
There's been some type of interruption. I don't think you've quite grasped your mind around the concept of what's really, truly going on here.
Eric!
Titan! The followers of darkness have now seen the light. We're coming. Find me!
Our story is just getting started.
See, this is what happens when my back is against the ropes. I come out swinging. My flow, my style, my look. They want my swag so bad, I swear I should write a book. Wake up every morning, check the grass for them snakes. Call these 9mm flows my rate. Bitches over money, no way. I don't fall in love, they just fall in love with me. Maybe it's the money, the cars, or the clothes. They got them backstage at all of my shows. A legacy, yeah, I built it from the ground. But crabs in the barrel, they stay trying to pull you down. Acting ass niggas, I swear I should write a play. How they smile in my face, that's why I say I'll take on all you haters today, 'cause I'm not gonna let you get in my way. See, there's one thing that y'all don't understand. In the end, I'm gonna be the last man standing. Last man standing. Last man standing. Last man, I'm gonna be the last man standing. Last man standing. Last man standing. Last man, I'm gonna be the last man standing. My chain, my watch, my diamonds, I would give them all up to have a day of silence. 'Cause dealing with the paparazzi on a daily, I swear it's enough to drive a rich man crazy. Good weed rolled up sky high. I just bought a mansion and it's on cloud 9. I love a classy chick, straight out of the hood. So I'ma make it rain, baby, call it flash floods. Niggas putting bounty on my head. Sometimes when you so live, they would rather see you dead. Call me hammer, they can't touch this. My whole life has been ordained. I'm going for the fame, that's why I say I'll take on all you haters today, 'cause I'm not gonna let you get in my way. See, there's one thing that y'all don't understand. In the end, I'm gonna be the last man standing. Last man standing. Last man standing. Last man, I'm gonna be the last man standing. Last man standing. Last man standing. Last man, I'm gonna be the last man standing. Lord, take this cross up off my back and save me. I'm about to hurt somebody here and save me. I'm standing at the crossroad, I don't know what to do. My mind is what these haters trying to make me lose. Ever since the money, see these demons at me, and I can't seem to keep nobody real around me. You know how the saying goes, it's lonely at the top. I'm allergic to the bottom, and that's why I can't stop. I'll take on all you haters today, 'cause I'm not gonna let you get in my way. See, there's one thing that y'all don't understand. In the end, I'm gonna be the last man standing. Last man standing. Last man standing. Last man, I'm gonna be the last man standing. Last man standing. Last man standing. Last man, I'm gonna be the last man standing. The last man standing.
Your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember,
that snake that she loved very much. The snake was about 7 feet long, and one day it just stopped eating. After several weeks of trying everything, the lady still couldn't get the snake to eat. The woman took the snake to the vet and explained her situation. The vet replied, "I see. Has your snake been sleeping with you at night or snuggling real close and stretching himself out?" The woman said, "Yes, every day, and it makes me so sad that I can't help him feel better." The vet said to the lady, "Ma'am, your snake is not sick. It has been preparing to eat you. He's been sizing you up every day so he knows how big he has to be. He's not eating, so he has enough room to digest you." Moral of the story: recognize the snakes around you. Just because they seem close to you doesn't mean their intentions aren't to devour you. A woman had a pet snake.
What you gon' do now? Hope you're ready, cause I'm really about to put it down. Girl, you know that I will never disrespect you. We love tomorrow, but tonight I wanna spank you. That ass down, gotta make it last now. Start off slow, then I'ma beat it up fast. Girl, I push it down, let it be known. Tell your girls you better get low. Back away from the door. She's getting out of here, from a long flight ahead. She got me started, now there ain't no stopping here. It's only popping here, they can come and watch you say it. They gotta leave us alone. Back away from the door. I want it all, gotta let me get it all. From the bed to the floor, just a wall. I'ma hit it so, turn around and hit it all. Maybe down on the soul and back away from the door.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7,
red's not supposed to be green. Like faith's not supposed to be seen. The sky's not supposed to touch the ground, and a square's not supposed to be round. The moon's not supposed to touch the sun, and a 2 is not supposed to be a 1. Said the heart's not supposed to weigh a ton, and forever's not supposed to be done. Winter's not supposed to come in June, and I am not supposed to have the blues. There are so many things that are not supposed to be, babe, except you and me. There are so many things that are not supposed to be. Ooh, babe, yeah, except you and me. Night's not supposed to be long. Yeah. No one is supposed to be alone. Understanding is not supposed to be confused. And the wind is not supposed to lose. Like fire's not supposed to freeze. Or like joy is not supposed to grieve. Like you are not supposed to leave. What I said I'm not supposed to mean. He is not supposed to have your heart. Baby, we are not supposed to be apart. There are so many things that are not supposed to be said. You and me.
Let's go. Check.
There are so many things.
Can y'all hear me out there?
That are not supposed to be.
Oh, thank you so much, Tiffany. I appreciate you.
Just like
it's about to go down.
Changing on this earth with no creation, or a heart with no feelings, or a sickness without a healing. Just like a frozen spring, or a bird with no wings.
Mr. Consistent is back at it.
Got a key. It's how my life would be. Like the night skies with no stars, a lonely broken heart, no holding hands, walks in the park. That's how we'll be if we want to part. Ooh.
So many things.
There are so many things, yeah, except the love. So many things that are not supposed to be. It's like having nowhere to breathe. Like having no words to breathe. Like having no rain for the sea. There are so many things that's not supposed to be. Not supposed to be. Except you and me, baby. Yeah, baby, yeah, except you and me.
All right. That was one of Rob Cuts called Not Supposed to Be. However, I sound good. Okay, good. Check. Everything good. Thanks, Tiff, for the super chat. If you want to join Tiffany on the super chat, you go ahead and hit that box at the bottom. That got a $sign in the square. It's called the super chat. So go ahead and hit that. That's you can put anything you want. Nothing too little, nothing too small, nothing too big, nothing too great. If you want to hit the Cash App, go ahead and $sign OfficialDanaJay. I'm going to keep it funky with you. I really did not want to come and read today. And I had one member of the Dream Team like, well, why? You should be happy. It seems like it's good. And like I told people, it hits different for me. It hits different for me. Now, there's one thing to be happy that Miss Bonjean is really breaking it down and Miss Bonjean is doing what Jennifer Bonjean does. But when you know what you know, when you know it, and how you know it, it becomes a problem that time after time, you reading documents of someone that you care about that don't belong where they at. And I don't expect many people to understand where I'm at with this, but I'm fed up. I'm tired of reading documents. I'm tired of debates. I'm tired of anything dealing with the corruption of Robert Sylvester Kelly. And the reason why I'm tired, thank you so much, King Cox. And the reason why, I appreciate you, bro. And the reason why I'm tired is because we are witnessing time after time, people's rights get violated. And the only thing folks want to do is run to the goddamn internet. Well, I started the rallies. I thought that with me starting rallies, it would have continued. But some people didn't do it for the betterment or the embetterment of Robert or other people. They did it for the embetterment of social media. If you listen to what they say, oh, we made the shade room. Fuck the shade room. Oh, people was talking about us. And where did it move for him? I'm sick and tired of the BS. Oh, we for Robert, but we gonna do this and do that. Really? And ain't nobody, and I'm gonna say it, ain't nobody busting no grapes, but they all run into the police station. Now that's veering from what I'm here to talk about. But I'm just saying, when is people gonna get back on task? There's no reason why DanaJay name should be ringing more than Rkelly. I've been saying it for the last 5 years. I know him. Y'all here to support him. But that's all y'all talk about is me. Make this shit make sense. Not that it's a bad thing that y'all talk about me, because I'm going to keep it real. I love to hear y'all talk about me. Because y'all make up stuff and the stuff don't sound right. And y'all give me ideas. However, we're here for this guy. Not for this guy. So let's get down to it. If y'all ready for it, let's get funky like a monkey. United States, yeah, see, Jesus, see, there it is. I'm mixing states and courts together. United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit, United States of America versus Robert Sylvester Kelly. On appeal from the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois, Eastern Division, case number 1/19 CR 00567. The Honorable Judge Harry Lennenweather. Reply brief for defendant appellant Robert Sylvester Kelly, Jennifer Bonjean, Ashley Cohen, Bonjean Law Group, New York and Chicago. We got the table of contents. We got the conclusion. We got the certificates of compliance. And we got the table of authorities, which the table of authorities is nothing but case laws that Jennifer Bonjean and her team use. The table of contents is just a defined statement of what you're going to see. However, we're going to start with the reply argument. Defendant's convictions for sexual exploitation and inducement of a child must be reversed where the charges were brought outside the applicable statute of limitations. I said that a long time ago. The government contends that the 2003 amendment to 18 U.S.C. 3283 that extended the statute of limitations for offenses involving the sexual or physical abuse of a child does not violate the ex post facto clause. I told y'all that when it first happened. It argues that this court's holding in United States versus Gibson 490 F3D 604 7th Circuit 2007 is dispositive of the issue and further urges the court to adopt the reasoning set forth in United States versus Maxwell. Ooh, that's Jixling. That's Jixling Maxwell. 534 F supplement 3D 299 SDNY 2021. At the outset, Gibson is distinguishable from the case at bar where the defendant in Gibson was initially indicated within the applicable statute of limitations and therefore put on timely notice of the charges and the need to defend them in Gibson. And they need to defend them. In Gibson, the defendant was indicted in January 2001 for the conduct that occurred in June 1996, ID at 606. The statute of limitations at the time the conduct was committed was 5 years. As a result, the indictment was timely filed. After indictment, the defendant fled the jurisdiction to avoid prosecution and was arrested in Belize in May 2001. ID, the statute of limitations was told while defendant was on the run pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 3290. The statute that was in effect at the time of his indictment, ID at 608. In January 2002, the defendant pled guilty to one count of conspiracy and was sentenced to a term of 262 months imprisonment. The remainder of the indictment was dismissed, ID at 606. The defendant appealed. This court reversed the conviction and sentence where the plea agreement was defective. The mandate issued on February 26, 2004. ID at 607. Pursuant to 18 USC. Thank you so much, Ashley Davis. I appreciate you. Pursuant to 18 USC 3296, the government had 60 days to move to reinstate the courts of the indictment that were dismissed pursuant to the plea agreement. The government so moved, and the charge were reinstated on July 14, 2005. Defendant argued that 3 of the reinstated counts were time barred. The government claimed the counts were not time barred because the statute of limitations was extended by 18 USC 3296, which became effective on November 2nd, 2002. Do y'all understand so far why she used this statute? If you understand why she used the statute, say hell yeah. If you don't, say Dana, break it down for me. And before I go any further, if y'all understand why Jennifer Bonjean used this statute, say I understand. If you don't understand, say Dana, break it down for me. I'm going to give y'all some time to think about your statement. Thank you so much again, Ashley Davis. I appreciate you. King Cox, I appreciate you. Tiff, I appreciate you so much. See, I'm not just going to read through, break it down. Okay, the reason why she used this whole case law thing, right, is because it was within the scope of the 5-year rule of thumb. Therefore, when the government came and extended that statute, it was within the 5 years. The Rkelly situation is 20 years removed. They extended that law in Chicago 20 years after, which means that his case is time barred already. Which means was when they were given the case back in 2011 and back in 2015, the government refused to go and prosecute Robert Sylvester Kelly. However, and what up tomorrow leaders However, this case law is well within the counts because on the fourth year, they extended this situation, which means when it hit 5, it's still not time served or time barred. So that's why she used this, and it puts the government in a psychological corner. Listen, this court found that application of the statute that served to extend the statute of limitations did not violate the defendant's ex post facto rights. Just what I just said. It was within that time that they extended it. So therefore, it didn't violate his ex post facto rights. What up, DJ Amazing? What up, bro? But Rkelly's ex post facto rights have been hugely violated. I've been telling y'all since the day that he got booked in that warehouse. Then it says, noting that it is well settled law that applying procedural statutes that effectively enlarge limitations periods does not violate the ex post facto clause, so long as the statute is passed before the given prosecution is barred. Now watch this. Let's just say that Rob was found guilty of what they just tried to throw on him, right? Within that time period back in 96, right? If he was found guilty of that back then, let's just say 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001. Let's say he went to trial in 2001 and they found him guilty. Then, or they found him not guilty. And then the government appealed. And then they extended that law. At that point, they can still come back and charge Robert with that. But you can't extend a law 20 years later, 25 years later, and then come and charge him with something, and the statute of limits is already 5 years. So if the statute of limitation is 5 years already, they came 25 years and tried to charge him with something that happened 25 years ago, after extending the statute of limitations 25 years later instead of 5 years later. So then it says, relying on Gibson, the government here contends that because the 2003 amendment was passed during a period of time that a prosecution could have been brought against defendant Kelly. That's what I just got finished saying, right? They could have brought these charges against him during that time period, but they didn't. The ex post facto clause is not offended by Kelly's prosecution on charges dating back to the late 1990s. Gibson is an act where the defendant there was initially indicated within the statute of limitations period that existed at the time of the alleged conduct. In contrast, the defendant here was not indicted within the statute of limitations period that existed at the time of the charged conduct. That's what I just told you. The government ignores the general canon articulated by the United States Supreme Court in Tusi versus United States, 397 U.S. 112, 115, 1970, that criminal statutes of limitations are to be interpreted in favor of repose. See also United States versus Gentile, 235, forward support, 649, 654, DNJ 2017. The purpose of criminal statutes of limitations is to limit exposure to criminal prosecution to a certain fixed period of time following the occurrence of criminal acts. ID. There is a presumption against retroactive legislation, which is deeply rooted in Supreme Court jurisprudence. Langroff versus USI Film Productions, 511 US 244-265, 1994. This time, honored presumption must be applied unless Congress has early manifested its intent to the contrary. Hughes versus Aircraft Company versus USXL, Rel Schumer, 520 US 939 946 1997. As argued in defendant's opening brief, Congress evinced an intent that 3283 applied prospectively when it employed prospective language and rejected a version of the bill that incorporated language that allowed for retroactive application of the amendment. And opposite to the statute at issue in Gibson, the government disagrees, arguing that Congress only intended to exercise language that would serve to revive expired claims as prohibited in Stogner versus California, 539 US 607 2003. Stop. So if the government disagrees that that bill incorporated language that allowed for retroactive application of the amendment, right? Which is the total opposite that legislation in Congress passed for the statute in the Gibson issue. But then she said the government disagrees, arguing that Congress only intended to exercise language that would serve to revive expired claims as prohibited. Now, here's my question. If the government is saying that Congress only intended to exercise language that would serve to revive expired claims as prohibited in Stogner versus California, what part of the government is in Congress? And ask yourself this question. If the government can answer what they meant as far as they mean in Congress, then why are they trying to prosecute Robert Sylvester Kelly? Congress shall only prosecute Congress, which lets you know this is bigger than some daggone females. This is bigger when you hear people answering and telling you what Congress only intended. How do you know what Congress intended? Are you part of Congress? See, these are questions that need to be answered. Hey, Nichelle, Congress only can answer Congress questions. The government cannot interpretate what Congress meant unless they are serving in a Congress delegation. So notably, Stogner had not been decided at the time the 2003 amendment passed. Thus, it is far from clear that Congress was only concerned about retroactive application of a statute that revived expired claims, although the revival of expired claims is of greater constitutional concern. Indeed, retroactive means application to any past conduct, not merely when it revives stale claims. Because the amendment uses prospective language, not retroactive, it seems clear that Congress intended to avoid all retroactive application of the amendment. Facts. That is, it sought to avoid application of the amendment to all conduct that preceded enactment of the amendment, not just to those claims that had expired. Facts, Jennifer Bonjean on it. Even if this court concludes that application of the amendment does not violate the ex post facto clause, its application creates impermissible retroactive effects and Gentile. For example, the district court concluded that a 6-year statute of limitations created by the Dodd-Frank law was inapplicable to crimes allegedly committed by the defendant because the Supreme Court does not favor retroactive statutes of limitations, and there was no clear congressional intent for the statute to apply retroactively. Pretty much what she's saying is that the government broke the law. The government superseded itself and cloaking Robert with retroactive charges. Gentile 235 F support at 654. The court reached this conclusion, notwithstanding that application of the extended statute of limitations would not have run afoul of the ex post facto clause. In short, the ex post facto clause is not the final word on whether a statute is impermissible retroactive, as it runs afoul of familiar considerations of fair notice, reasonable reliance, and settled expectations. Indeed, Landgraf makes clear that certain statutes must be presumed absent, which means absent a clear statement from Congress, to apply only prospectively. But while the constitutional impediments to retroactive civil legislation are now modest, prospectively remains the appropriate default rule because it accords with widely held intuitions about how state statutes ordinarily operate. A presumption against retroactivity will generally coincide with legislative and public expectations. Requiring clear intent assures that Congress itself has affirmatively considered the potential unfairness of retroactive application and determined that it is an acceptable price to pay for the countervailing benefits. ID at 272 to 273. Defendant maintains that Section 3283, by its language and its legislative history, was intended to apply prospectively. Surely there is no word from Congress that the statute was intended to apply retroactively. Thus, the inquiry ends there, making all charges against the defendant time barred. Even if this court reaches step 2 of the Landgraf, the analysis, it should decide against retroactive application of the amendment for the foregoing reasons. 2, the trial court abused its discretion when it denied defendant's motion to sever the inducement counts 10 through 13, from the child pornography counts related to Jane, counts 1 through 3. The government minimizes the prejudice suffered by the defendant as a result of the joinder of the inducement counts related to Nia and Pauline, which the remaining counts related to Jane. While much discretion is owed to the district court, there simply is no question that defendant had virtually no shot at defending the claims related to Nia and Pauline in light of the joinder of those counts to the counts related to Jane, where the jury saw highly inflammatory and arguably cumulative, where the jury saw highly inflammatory, and look what she put in parentheses, and arguably cumulative video evidence related to Jane. Stop. Here's where you break down the COVID people lies. If that was a clear cut that it was R. Kelly on there with an underage girl, there's no way you can arguably, or you can argue that in a cumulative fashion. But the jury saw inflammatory video evidence related to Jane. Who else was on there? The jury unquestionably did not examine Nia and Pauline's testimony through the same lens it would have absent the evidence introduced as to Jane. Same thing I've been saying the whole time. Without the video recorded evidence, the government would have been left with 25-year-old testimony from two women, one of whom describes a single occasion of groping for which she later sued defendant and received $500,000. And the other who spent decades denying a prohibited sexual relationship with the defendant only to claim one existed upon premises of restitution by the government. Simply put, and before I go to simply put, remember when I kept saying that Rashona wasn't going to testify? And the smart dummy kept saying, oh, yes, she is. But then the government turned around and don't want to honor the conversations in between the smart dummy and their client, or should I say their worker. But what they did is transferred her to another jurisdiction. So when people come and say, oh, he was taken out of the paperwork and this meant that he didn't do anything wrong, you're a lie. That means the government is protecting their own. You got to understand, the government protects their own. The government protects their own. The problem is when the government get caught protecting their own, then what happened? So simply put, defendant had strong defenses to the allegations by Nia and Pauline. Those defenses were entirely overshadowed by video evidence of defendant's sexually explicit conduct with Jane. Hold on. At that point, she wasn't a minor. So can they prove that Rob dealt with Jane as a minor? No, they can't. The video that they had, well, I'm going to let Bonjean break it down. The government argues that defendant could not have suffered prejudice because the jury acquitted him of two other inducement counts related to Brittany and Tracy. Brittany did not testify, so that is hardly a fair comparison. As to Tracy, admissions from her own prior lawsuit against the defendant showed that she was simply not under the age of 18. So with that being said, when them COVID people run and be like, and what about Tracy Sampson? Okay, she was not under the age of 18. So what about her? That's why R. Kelly sued her back. At the time, she alleged abuse by the defendant. Tracy's testimony does underscore an important point, namely that like Lisa Van Allen, women have been willing to fudge the age at which they had sexual contact with the defendant, either for pecuniary gain or at the urging of the government. Make it all the more critical in some cases that defendant be able to testify in his defense. Stop. Because I'm not going to overlook that. Women, this statement right here. Women have been willing to fudge the age at which they had sexual contact with the defendant, either for pecuniary gain or at the urging of the government. With that being said, this case needs to be dismissed and overturned. Why, Dana? Because if the government is urging their clients to lie on the defendant, or if they only was in it for pecuniary gain, then guess what? Justice is not even being served. And we have a man sitting for no reason. Then it says, making it all more critical in some cases that defendant be able to testify in his defense. Defendant's defense as to Nia required him to testify about the nature of his contact with Nia at his studio and his knowledge about her age. No one could testify to that except him. Similarly, defendant's defense as to Pauline required him to explain his relationship with Pauline that lasted decades, but which did not involve sexual contact when she was under the age of 17. Defendant had no choice to forego giving that testimony in order to maintain his right against self-incrimination in connection with other counts in the indictment. Break it down for the slow people, Bonjean. Indeed, this is precisely the scenario that justified severance, because defendant would have been coerced into testifying on a count upon which he wished to remain silent in order to give testimony concerning counts 10 and 12. 3. Defendant's 240-month above guideline sentence was both procedurally and substantively improper. Why you say that, Bonjean? The parties agreed that the district court correctly calculated the applicable guideline ranges at 135 to 168 months. However, the government maintains that the district court provided sufficient justification for its substantial upward variance of 72 months due to defendant's obstructive conduct. Hold on. I'm glad you said that. I'm going to read it again. The parties agree that the district court correctly calculated the applicable guideline ranges at 135 to 168 months. However, the government maintains that the district court provided sufficient justification for its substantial upward variance of 72 months due to defendant's obstructive conduct. Hold on. If you're going to do an upward variance of 72 months due to defendant's obstructive conduct, why didn't you charge Rkelly, or why wasn't Rkelly charged with obstruction? Can somebody explain that? If the defendant is not charged with obstruction, how can you upduce him 72 months for obstructive conduct? Now, everything I've been telling everybody is now about to show his head. Because we all know that Robert didn't do obstructive conduct. So what the government going to fall back on is all them phone calls when a certain batch of people. Thank you so much, Laverne. Appreciate you. All them phone calls when a certain batch of people and was on Rkelly court cases cussing and fussing. All the stuff, bring him down. And they go into the jail trying to snatch the door off the hinges. Oh, all that about to come into play. That's why they want to deflect y'all and keep y'all talking about a defense fund, but it had its own indictment. And see, I'm trying not to spin the block, because if I spin the block this time, I'm going to be reckless. So let's finish. And the fact that modern guidelines provide for a higher offense level for sexual exploitation of children. As argued in his opening brief, defendant maintains that the district court judge gave little more than a polite nod to the guidelines before quickly deciding that he believed the appropriate sentence was 20 years imprisonment. The district court committed procedural error by concluding without a well-articulated basis that defendant should be sentenced well above the guidelines range. The government insists that it presented ample evidence that defendant obstructed justice and received child pornography or conspired to receive child pornography, even though defendant and his co-defendants were what? Acquitted of all such conduct. So now I'm about to ask a question. Hey, child, but I'm about to ask a question. I think somebody, Stephanie asked that question. If you're going to try to charge Rob for receiving child pornography, right? Thank you so much, Ms. Darling. I appreciate you. If you're going to try to charge Rob for receiving child pornography, ask yourself this question. Why wasn't the lady at CNN charged for watching child pornography? Why wasn't Jim Daryagas charged for watching child pornography? Why wasn't Stephanie Sparkle Edwards charged for sending and watching child pornography? If we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. And while y'all at it, like, share, subscribe to this channel. If y'all going to do this, we're going to do this right. So while acquitted conduct can be considered in sentencing so long as it is proven, key word, proven by a preponderance of the evidence. The government's evidence fell far short of even this lower standard. The government does not even bother to point this court to any record sites of testimony that substantiates its now disproved charges that defendant obstructed justice in connection with his 2008 prosecution. Now, hold on. Here's a question that I'm going to ask. If he's acquitted, not once, but twice, right? That means the powers that be wasn't going to stop until they got him on something. Now, I'm going to ask you this question. And what's going to happen is I'm going to go back and reread Nia and Pauline court things this weekend. But I want y'all to ask this question. And we talking post 9/11. No, pre 9/11. And we talking pre 9/11. You allegedly left school. I want y'all to close your eyes and visualize this as I said. You left school. Your mama didn't know where you were going. A limo pulls up. You jumps in. Rkelly's supposed to have sent the limo to you. You go to the airport. You don't have ID. You give the gate or the ticket keeper a passcode with no ID, no adult. He lets you through. You get on the plane. You fly to Minnesota. You get off the plane. You go to a limo that's waiting for you. No ID, no nothing. The limo takes you to a hotel. You, nobody else, with no ID, no nothing, checks into a hotel. You calls Rkelly. He don't show up until the next day. Allegedly, he comes to your room. Y'all don't have the SEX. He relieves himself with his hand, leaves the room, don't see you no more that weekend. After the weekend, you get into a limo, you go to the airport, no ID, no nothing. You say another password, gets on a plane, fly back to Atlanta, or Chicago, and whichever one it is. You get off the plane, you get into another limo, you go home. Nobody never questions anything. Nobody ever worries about anything. Rob goes about his business. Don't call you for some time. Now, can I ask y'all a question? Do that sound like a lie to you? If that sound like a lie to you, put hell yeah in the chat. If that sound like something that you can really get away with, say, I got away with that. I'm just saying. What up, Big Vi? Big Vi said, impossible to fly with no ID or adult verifying you. Facts. So I'm just trying to figure out, do that sound like a lie to you? If that sounds like a lie, say hell yeah. But Judge Levin, whoever said that happened. My question is how? How you want to fly? Listen, I was flying pre 9/11. And I ain't gonna forget it. I misplaced my ID. They made me stand out of line and check and they brought every bag I checked in until I found my ID. My cousin was trying to fly to Chicago and he couldn't fly, and without his mama taking a license to verify who she was and to verify that was her son. And then the flight attendant sat next to him his whole flight. And then the person that was coming to pick him up, which was my Uncle Calvin, had to verify that he was his daddy or the guardian coming to get him with a license. But you flying with god daggone passcodes. I'm just trying to figure out who you fooling. So it says, not letting the facts get in the way of its argument. And I am going to read Nia and Pauline paperwork. Not tonight, but I'm going to break it down in different days. Not letting the facts get in the way of its argument, the government continues to repeat a narrative that was overwhelmingly rejected by the jury and simply asks this court to assume that its proof satisfied the lower preponderance standard. A fair review of this record shows that the jury in this case did not merely acquit all of the defendants of the obstruction and receipt counts because the government came up short. Rather, the jury acquitted the defendants based on the government's own evidence in conjunction with unrefuted defense evidence that proved a very different set of circumstances that those charged in the indictment. Defendants is left to speculate what acquitted conduct. The district court found by a preponderance of the evidence standard where it failed to make precise findings. Defendants should not have to speculate as to what facts Defendants should not have to speculate as to what facts the district court relied on when imposing an above guidelines range, particularly when the jury acquitted the defendant and his co-defendants of the conduct that allegedly supports the above guidelines range. The government adamantly insists it showed the defendant obstructed his 2008 state court prosecution by intimidating and bribing witnesses and by seeking to retrieve and conceal the child pornography videos that could support charges against him. Government BR at 44. Notably absent from the government's argument is any record support for its contentions. Whoa. So if the arguments of the record is not supported and is absent, okay, let's say it this way. So if what the government is spitting out to the media is absent from their argument and is not supported on record for its contentions, that's called slander. That's called public bullying. So first, the district court judge made no finding by the preponderance of the evidence that defendant intimidated or bribed witnesses, citing to one paragraph of its sentencing memorandum, R418 at 30. The government insists that defendant intimidated and bribed Jane. Look, the government insists that defendant intimidated and bribed Jane. Now watch this. For the lady in New York, but I got the overly chakachulu mustache. When she came out and said Dana ain't know what he was talking about, and said the government never said that. Well, we spinning that block again for mustache lady, and here it is again. The government insists that defendant intimidated and bribed Jane. So let's go here. If the government insists that the defendant intimidated and bribed Jane, that means he did both, right? That means if you can find that Robert Sylvester Kelly intimidated and bribed Jane, he deserved to be charged. But let's just say it was stated this way. The government insists that defendant intimidated or bribed Jane. That means he did one or the other, right? So when the judge changed the goalposts with 2 seconds left in the game and the prosecution got the ball, what do that mean? The prosecution wins the Super Bowl. Why? Because the judge cheated and wanted to remove the goalpost. How did the judge remove the goalpost? The way the question was, if you can find Robert Sylvester Kelly on tapes 1, 2, and 3. No, if you can find Robert Sylvester Kelly on tapes 1, 2, or 3, you must find him guilty. But if you can't find Robert Sylvester Kelly on tapes 1, 2, or 3, you must find him not guilty. So before the jury deliberates on that, they come out and say, Judge, are you sure that this is the way you want the question? And Levin Weber said, read the question. And they said, if you can find Robert Sylvester Kelly on tapes, on videotapes 1, 2, or 3, you must find him guilty. If you can't find Robert Sylvester Kelly on tapes 1, 2, or 3, you must find him not guilty. Levin Weber said, no, change or to and. And as Big Vi said, it was critical. Because now you change the whole dynamic of the question and the statement. So now they go from if you can find them on either 1, 2, or 3, you must find them guilty. Or if you can't find them on 1, 2, or 3, you must find them not guilty. Which mean if he's on 1, 2, or 3, you must find him not guilty. But then when it's changed to if you find him on 1, 2, and 3, see the difference of it? See the difference of it? When he put the and in there from the beginning, that means if he's found on all 3 of them, But when you change and to or, but that means if he's on any one of them. And the one that they watched, it was Rkelly. That means that Roshona was over age. If she wasn't, why Rkelly wasn't prosecuted? Make this make sense? But Jane never testified consistent with this story. With this theory, which is precisely why a defendant was found not guilty of this charge. Jane testified at length that she began a sexual relationship with the defendant when she was 14 and that the relationship lasted 12 years. Defendant was charged and convicted of 4 separate counts of the indictment related to his sexual abuse of Jane, count 1 through 4 and 9. However, Jane never testified that defendant bribed, coerced, or forced her in any way to obstruct defendant's 2008 prosecution, including by giving false testimony to the grand jury. Quite the opposite. Jane testified that after the videotape depicted her sexual contact with the defendant came to light, Jane and her family met in Oak Park to discuss the situation. Jane's father told defendant he couldn't help him, and defendant encouraged Jane and her family to decide how they wanted to handle it. Jane maintained that defendant was apologetic, did not threaten her or her parents, and was deeply remorseful. Jane, who was at that point 17 years old and therefore of legal consenting age in Illinois, wanted to continue her relationship with the defendant. So hold on. What happened between 14 and 13 if she was 17 when it happened? That's my question. Because if you go back and read, she claims Rob ain't touch her until she was 16 or 17. She stated it started out with just phone sex. If that's the case, why did Sparkle induce her niece to go sit on her godfather's lap? It's not making sense, is it? Wanted to protect him and did not want to be a part of a prosecution for her own highly personal reasons. TR R928. Jane and her parents had their own counsel when they were interviewed by law enforcement. Jane also wanted to protect her parents, who had been subject to a DCFS investigation and had their own reasons for not wanting to cooperate with the state court investigation. For her part, Jane's mother adamantly denied that she took money from the defendant to lie before the grand jury and the state prosecution. No witness testified that defendant paid Jane, her family, or any money not to cooperate with the 2008 prosecution. Although defendant lended modest financial assistance to Jane over the years following their 12 years relationship, Jane denied that any such payments had to do with an effort to buy her silence. So hold on. If she is telling you this, right? Here's a question that Miss Jennifer Bonjean probably going to ask on oral arguments. If Jane is presumed to be credible after changing her story because she got promised a $20 million bag, that's her on the tape, that infamous tape, and Robert did her wrong, right? If she's able to change that and be credible, Why can't she tell the truth here, which she did, and they still mark this as credible? So this is not credible because it don't go in accordance to what the government is saying. But when she go in accordance to what the government want because of the $20 million bag, then she's credible. Make this make sense. Indeed, when the United States Attorney's Office began reinvestigating the case in 2019, messages between the defendant and Jane show no effort on defendant's part to influence her in any way. And she denied that he made any effort to do so. In short, the record is devoid of evidence that defendant intimidated or bribed any witnesses, either in connection with the 2008 prosecution or the instant one. And the district court made no such finding. Accordingly, this factual basis cannot justify the significant above guideline sentence. Without record cite, the government insists that it presented sufficient proof that defendant attempted to retrieve and conceal child pornography to obstruct his 2008 prosecution. Excuse me. The government argues that the district court made such a finding, but his comments are far from clear and are mistaken in any event. To be specific, the district court judge acknowledged that Kelly did not apparently intend to traffic any sexually explicit material, but stated that he was negligent in how he maintained the material. The district court then casually noted, as I remember, I think Lisa Van Allen said that she found the tapes in a backpack. And that started out a rather Keystone Cop kind of operation. And Kelly's minions spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and effort to try to get them back. They were obviously unable to do so. The government points to these remarks as factual findings by the district court that defendant engaged in conspiracy to receive child pornography or receipt of child pornography. These vague remarks do not provide a sound factual basis for the upward variance based on acquitted conduct and are not supported by the record. The district court genuinely remembered Van Allen's testimony about seemingly forgot that the evidence showed that the tape Van Allen stole from defendant's backpack did not contain child pornography, which is why defendant was acquitted of count 4 in the indictment. Stop. Just stop for a second. So if the tape that Lisa Van Allen stole did not have child pornography on it, once again, my argument is proven correct. And my argument was that was Damon Pryor, which was the body double for Rkelly back then. That was Damon Pryor and Lisa Van Allen. But if you let certain people on the YouTube streets tell it, oh no, Rkelly was charged for that. That means it was him. Well, he was acquitted of count 4. And that's when the government came in and said, we can't validate none of this. So here's my question. When Damon Pryor came and said, Lisa Van Allen and some dudes out of Kansas, which was Keith Morrell, and his friends was trying to blackmail Rob, why wouldn't the prosecution allow Damon Pryor to testify? Because it would have blew everything that they had out the water, because he would have detailed it. So Van Allen testified that she sent the stolen tape to her paramour, Keith Morrell, also a government witness, TRR 2082, which is transcript, Robert 2082. Van Allen testified that she later learned through Morrell that a prominent television host, Kamorley Simmons, was interested in buying the tape, and the two schemed to extort money from defendant for the return of the tape. Stop. Big Vi said video 4 never made it to court, which supposed to be Rashonda Landfair. I agree with that. But hold on. I got a question. Why nobody brought up the fact that Lisa Van Allen tried more than one scheme attempts against Rkelly? And it just so happened to be with every one of her boyfriends and husbands. Things that make you go, Putting aside the unlikelihood that a media outlet would buy child pornography, Morrell testified that Van Allen sent him the tape in the early 2000s and asked him to hold it for her. And that's transcript 2198 and 2201. The tape depicted defendant engaged in sexual activity with Van Allen and another person. Morrell testified that he viewed the tape and it looked like a regular threesome. Morrell never suggested that the tape appeared to contain child pornography. After Van Allen and Morrell extorted defendants, Morrell eventually surrendered the tape to co-defendant Daryl McDavid in exchange for payment. The tape was then provided to defendant's criminal defense attorney, Ed Jensen, who reviewed the tape with his assistant, Ronald Winters, and concluded that it was a tape depicting defendant with another woman, Lisa Van Allen, and the defendant's wife. I'm going to say it again. Ed Jensen, who reviewed the tape with his assistant, Ronald Winters, and concluded that it was a tape depicting defendant with another woman, Lisa Van Allen, and defendant's wife. Notably, Mr. Jensen has never been accused of receiving child pornography, which means the government's lie and all the lies that people like the talk, like the real, what is that other show? But it had Funky Don Evil on it. And Claudia Jordan is the host. What show was that? If anybody know, put it in there and put it in the chat for me. Because I want to boycott these people. So Mr. Jensen had an investigator. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. And Morrell's testimony was corroborated by testimony from Ronald Winters, Ed Jensen's personal assistant during the relevant time period. Winters testified that in and around 2007, Fox Soul, that's it, Ms. Virgo, Fox Soul need to be a hot soul and be off the channels. Ed Jensen's personal assistant during the relevant time period, Winters testified that in and around 2007, he was aware of videotapes being brought into Jensen's office related to Mr. Kelly. Mr. Jensen had an investigator by the name of Jack Palladino who would bring them in. This happened on 6 or 7 times. Winters would assist Jensen with reviewing the tapes, and on each and every occasion, the tapes that were brought to Jensen involved sexual activities with women who did not appear to be underage. Winters also recounted a time when co-defendant McDavid brought in a videotape in 2007. The tape McDavid recovered from Lisa Van Allen and Keith Morrell. The tape depicted Mr. Kelly having sex with 2 women, one of whom appeared to be his wife. According to Van Allen, she was the other person in the tape, meaning the tape did not contain child pornography, consistent with testimony from government witness Morrell and defense witness Winters. Uh-oh. The government fails to back up its claim with record evidence that the district court found by a preponderance of the evidence that defendant committed the acquitted conduct of receipt of child pornography or conspiracy to receive child pornography. The government's evidence did not even persuade the jury that the defendants had conspired to receive child pornography, reflecting a resounding rejection of the government's theory of the case. For this part, the district court judge recalled evidence of the wild goose chase for tapes, but seemingly forgot or overlooked that the evidence showed that the tapes recovered by McDavid were not sexually explicit. Whoa. What did I tell y'all? I told y'all all these fake ass hunted devices didn't really have nothing on it. I told y'all that. Regardless, the district court's comments were not sufficiently specific to justify the above guideline sentence. If the district court intended to make alternative factual findings, I like the way she put that there, to make alternative factual findings based on a lower standard of proof as the basis for a significant upward variance, it had an obligation to point to the proof and the record that supported those findings. The district court also noted that a 20-year sentence was appropriate because the current guidelines will provide for a higher offense level for the actual conduct. The government argues that the district court was permitted to consider the current guidelines in fashioning its above guideline sentence. Defendant adamantly disagrees. So right now, what you're seeing is the breakdown of how the federal government lied to get Rob where he is today. Relying on the current guidelines as a basis for a significant upward departure without identifying any specific factors that were not contemplated by the statute in effect at the time of the conduct is no different than directly applying the current guidelines. A clear ex post facto violation without authority. The government contends that district court was permitted to consider modern penalties when sentencing defendant to an above guidelines range. Not so. This court in United States versus Co. 220 F3D 573 578 7th Circuit 2000 and other federal circuit court have found that there is no ex post facto violation for a district court to use amendments to the federal sentencing guidelines that occurred after the commission of the offense as a rationale to depart about the sentencing guidelines range. The court held that a court may interpret the commission's later addition of an aggravating element as a sentencing factor as evidence that a previous version of the guidelines did not adequately consider that factor in the sentencing scheme. This court did not hold that a district court may simply consider modern penalties in a general fashion to justify an upward departure. This approach would gut the prohibitions imposed by the ex post facto clause, a concern that this court noted in Co. Here, neither the district court, not the government can point to any specific amendment or aggravating circumstance that was not contemplated by the applicable version of the guidelines. that current guidelines are generally more punitive cannot serve as a basis for sentencing the defendant to an above guideline sentence without offending the ex post facto clause. Conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, defendant's convictions must be reversed. Alternatively, defendant's convictions at 2 counts 10 and 12 must be vacated and remanded for a new trial. Lastly, defendant is entitled to a new sentencing hearing. Certificate of compliance with FRAP Rule 32A7, FRAP Rule 32G, and CR 32C. The undersigned counsel of record for the defendant, appellant Robert S. Kelly, furnishes the following in compliance with FRAP Rule 32A7. I hereby certify that this brief conforms to the rules contained in FRAP Rule 32A7 for a brief produced with a proportionally spaced font. The length of this brief is 3,759 words, dated February the 5th, 2024. But wait a minute, don't go nowhere for a second. I want to show you all something. And what I want to show you is going to blow your mind. So while I'm getting this, I'm going to play something for y'all. Hold on. I'm going to play something for y'all. Hold on. Where's that? While I'm getting this. Hold on, because I got to get this, because this ain't right. Let's play this.
January boy, remix money. Hail Mary, full of grace. Hail Mary, full of grace. Hail Mary, full of grace. I swear that's what she said. Shawty looking at me, she's a flirt. All night creeper, let her know I put in work. But it's something I gotta teach her. Bust it open, bring it back. I'll be ready to attack. Got an automatic weapon, it go pop. She's a wifey in the street, sweet like a dove. Key in her ignition, now she rolling with a dog. She know that I keep her strong, and you know where I'm from. It's that Chi-Town boy, and I got these honeys speaking in tongues. In tongues. In tongues. In tongues. I got them all speaking in tongues.
She be like, Ludacris, don't nobody give it to me like you do. I cast a spell on them. They be think I'm doing voodoo. Can't understand the words you saying. You need a translator. I aim before I shoot, then I assassinate her. She be catching that Holy Ghost. She had a loss for words. Said she really wanna wet the fabric, so I'm a softened nerd. Was a good girl when I met her, and she was so pure. Now I got her in the back room talking about Hanam Harenge Cure. That's what you get when you messing with the boys in the hood that's from the South. We be like, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? She got just what she wanted, and she know I'm home. I guess that's why it seems
I got these honeys speaking in tongues. In tongues. In tongues. In tongues. I got them all speaking in tongues. 6 days a week, get off on a Sunday. Come over late at night and then I eat it like a Sunday. She know that I'm a heavyweight, more money than collection play. She tired and she sliding on me like a tidal wave. I mean, shawty so fine, you need to pray for her. She yelling, but I don't know what she's saying to me. She speaking languages that I ain't never heard. Call her Dirty Diana, man, the way she make it jerk. She know that I keep her strong, and you know where I'm from. It's that Chi-Town boy, and I got these honeys speaking in tongues. In tongues. In tongues. In tongues. I got them all speaking in. Shawty, what you say? Shout it what you say. Shout it what you say. Shout it what you say. I got this honey speaking in tongues. In tongues. In tongues. In tongues.
I got so much in here, man. Hold on, I'm gonna get it for you. Cause I want y'all to see something. I know some people seen it already, but I'm gonna spin a block with it, and I'm gonna show exactly. I'm gonna play this real quick. Let's go with Waffle House. Hold on. I'm gonna find this for y'all. Hold on. Boo doo 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 doo. Boo doo doo doo. It's a collage that I put together when I broke this all the way down for y'all. And I just want y'all to see how people mismanage and lie about certain things. And it's dealing with the Minnesota chick of how they did things. And I don't really want to say nothing until I find it and pull it up. Hold on. Don't go nowhere, y'all. Hold on. I'm trying to pull this up for y'all. Because I think y'all need to see this. Last time I posted this, people got mad and, oh no, that's not right. You shouldn't do that. Guess what? I found it. Here we go. Hold on. I can't whistle for nothing, but I'll try. Now, this infamous sex tape, right? This infamous sex tape that everybody talk about. I'm going to go here. I'm going to start here. Now, I've asked the question and before. Was it Rashona Landfair on the infamous sex tape? People told me, yeah. That's her. So I'm going to ask a question. And the question I'm going to ask, is this Rashona Landfair? Is this Rashona Landfair? If y'all believe that this is Rashona Landfair, say yes. Now, this is the face of the young lady who got paid the money, which they say was Rashona Landfair, right? So, if y'all believe that this is Rashona Landfair, say yes. If y'all don't believe it's Rashona Landfair, say no. Or y'all know our motto, say hell no. So what happened was people have capabilities. And we put it under the UV ray microscope. If you see what's going on, you see it's another face under here. The face that looks familiar. So we see that they tried to put Rashona's face on top of another face that looked familiar. Okay. Let's get another UV ray light. Ooh. A regular face ain't gonna lift like that. I'm gonna get it closer. A regular face ain't gonna lift like that. The nose ain't gonna split like that, and neither is the lip. And neither is the lip. This is what I tried to tell people, but you know, they so stuck on their own platforms that, oh no, Dana don't know what he's talking about. Okay. Well, Dana don't know what he's talking about. Well, Dana have all the evidence for him not to know what he's talking about. The finished product. Now, here's my question. Why is the lip split like it have a cleft lip? Why is the nose pointed like it have a pointed nose? You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Shauna. So let me ask you this question. Could the person in the video be none other than who? Angelina Prado? And see, and Kanik had all of this. And I broke it down. But because I was the most hated person, Kanik didn't use it, and Rob paid for it. I'm just saying. So now y'all understand why I get frustrated. Same chin. Same cheeks. Same nose. Same wide lips. Same dip in the top lip. Same eyebrows. Same eyes. I showed y'all that to show y'all this. When I broke that down to you, I really broke it down. There's so much more I can show you with this. I'm going to save that for Thursday. Because I need the icon over here on Thursday. I'm going to go to a different sector. And I'm going to say this. Legina Gold, I challenge you to come to my platform Thursday. Me and you, a discussion. I got some pictures. You say you're Lee and Rob's daughter, right? I got some pictures. You really want to take that walk? You got to come to the king. I got pictures. You say you the daughter, right? So if anybody know Legina Gold's page, please go to her page and let her know Dana J inviting her on Thursday night as we break down Legina Gold's mystery of who her self-proclaimed parents are. And I'm not trying to argue. I'm not going to debate. I'm going to show two pictures. two. I'm going to show two pictures that will destroy it all. So I'm inviting the icon over here as well. I love her page. And I'm just saying, the truth got to be told. The truth got to be told. And on that note, just remember this. You don't have to be great to get started. But you have to get started to be great. Be someone important. Be yourself. Until next time, Dana J is saying dream team for life and free Rkelly to the death of me. And Bonjean got it going. Holla at y'all tomorrow.
My dog, Willie Jones. My bro, for real. Yeah. One more chance at love. One more chance at love. One more chance at love. more chance at love. One more chance at love.
That's right.
One more chance at love. One more chance at love.
Thank you so much, Ann. I appreciate y'all. Let's get out of here.
When the chips are down, these
good night, everybody.
People, they'll eat each other. When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other. When the chips are,
I don't like to waste time on stupid conversation. There's no profit in that. So if I'm around people that are always complaining with no solutions, then I'm wasting real estate in my brain for what I need to project. And what I project in my brain is what I project in my reality. So that real estate only has to be for evolution, things that are going to help me get where I got to go. You understand? Help me evolve. So if my conversation with you makes me stagnate, we don't have too much conversation either. I don't have no time for no stupid ass conversation.
You are stronger than what you have been through. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk about you. Their opinions are not facts. I need you to keep applying pressure, stay committed to yourself, and keep being authentic, no matter what they say or do. Don't you dare doubt your value.
Indeed.
Don't you dare doubt your worth. Keep shining like you do. And stay locked in with God. God do not create a lock without his key. And God do not create a problem without a solution. Listen to me. You are stronger than what you have been through.
Thank y'all for joining me. DanaJay gone. Good night. Dream team for life. Love every last one of y'all.
What? Say it, what you gonna do now? Hope you're ready, cause I'm really about to put it down. Girl, you know that I will never disrespect you. We love tomorrow, but tonight I want to spank you. That ass, girl, gotta make